The city lights shimmer outside the window, a blur of color and energy that feels worlds away from me. I sit in the back seat of Gearshift Uber, the hum of the engine blending with the pulse of my thoughts. I look out at the city, but I don't really see it. Instead, I feel the weight of my routine life pressing down on me. What am I doing here? Why does this feel so different? It's a beautiful night, isn't it? Gearshift says, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. His smile is genuine, and for a moment, I forget my worries. Yeah, I reply, but my voice lacks enthusiasm. Sometimes I wonder if I'm missing out on something. He raises an eyebrow, intrigued. Missing out? Like what? I hesitate, my heart racing as I consider sharing my doubts. I used to have dreams, you know? Things I wanted to do, but life happened. Now, I just exist. Gearshift nods, his expression serious. I get that. I feel the same way sometimes. I want to make something of myself, but it's tough. Something in his eyes sparks a connection I didn't expect. It's like he understands, and suddenly, I feel lighter. What do you want to do? I ask, genuinely curious. I want to travel, see the world, maybe start a business, he says, his passion lighting up his face. What about you? I take a deep breath, the words tumbling out before I can stop them. I wanted to be a writer. Tell stories that matter. But here I am, just stuck. His gaze holds mine, and I can feel the air between us shift. You should write. Everyone has a story worth telling. A rush of warmth fills me at his encouragement. I laugh, the sound surprising us both. Maybe I will. Or maybe I'll just keep dreaming. But the truth is, I want to believe there's still a chance for me. The conversation flows easily, our laughter filling the car, and I feel a thrill course through me. With each shared story, I realize how much I've craved this kind of connection. The world outside blurs into a swirl of lights, but I'm focused on Gearshift, feeling seen for the first time in ages. As we near my destination, my heart races again. The city lights dim as we approach my apartment building, and I hesitate. Should I invite him in for just a glass of water? It's such a small gesture, but it feels like a leap into the unknown. My thoughts race. Is this reckless? Exciting? Here we are, Gearshift says, breaking my trance. He glances at me, waiting for my response. I can see the question in his eyes, the curiosity mingled with hope. Would you like to come in for a minute? Just for some water? I blurt out, the words escaping my lips before I can rethink them. His smile widens, and I can't help but feel a flutter of excitement. Sure, I'd like that. As I step out of the car, my heart pounds in my chest. What am I doing? A part of me screams to stop, to play it safe, but the other part craves this thrill. I glance back at Gearshift, and the spark in his eyes makes my decision feel exhilarating. We walk toward my apartment, and I can't shake the feeling that this moment could change everything. What will happen next? Will I regret this decision, or is it the beginning of something I've longed for? My mind spins with possibilities as we reach my door, and I realize this is just the start of a journey I never knew I needed. As soon as we step into my apartment, the atmosphere shifts. The door clicks shut behind us, and the world outside fades away. I can feel the air thickening with unspoken desires, and my heart races. Gearshift stands just a few feet away, his presence both comforting and electrifying. I can't help but notice how our hands brush against each other as I reach for the light switch. The small contact sends a jolt through me, and I look up to meet his gaze. Do you want something to drink? I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. Water would be great, he replies, his eyes never leaving mine. There's a spark there, a connection that feels both thrilling and dangerous. I walk to the kitchen, my mind racing. What am I doing? I've let this moment go too far already. As I fill 2 glasses with water, I can feel Gearshift's eyes on me, and it sends shivers down my spine. I turn around, handing him a glass, and our fingers touch again. This time, the touch lingers just a moment longer, and I feel a wave of heat rush to my cheeks. "Thanks," he says, taking a sip. "This place is nice. It feels cozy." "Thanks," I reply, trying to sound casual. "I like it here. It's my little escape from everything." Jarek nods, his expression thoughtful. "I get that. Sometimes, you just need a space where you can breathe." We stand there, sipping our water, and I can sense the tension building. Every second feels charged, like the air before a storm. I can't ignore the desire bubbling beneath the surface, but guilt tugs at my heart. Ethan is at home, completely unaware of this moment, and the thought makes me feel sick. "Are you okay?" Jarek asks suddenly, breaking the silence. His voice is soft, filled with concern. I swallow hard, trying to shake off the guilt. "Yeah, just thinking." "About what?" he presses gently. I take a deep breath, torn between honesty and self-preservation. "About my life. My choices." My voice falters as I realize how vulnerable I sound. This feels different. Exciting, but also wrong. Jarek steps closer, and I can smell his cologne, warm and inviting. It's okay to feel that way. Sometimes, we need to explore what we want, even if it feels scary. I look up at him, searching for answers. But what if I'm about to ruin everything? My marriage? My life? His expression shifts to one of understanding, and he takes another step back, giving me space. "I don't want to be the reason for your pain," he says, his voice steady yet sad. The weight of his words hits me like a cold wave. I feel a knot forming in my stomach, and I glance away, overwhelmed. I don't want to hurt anyone, especially Ethan. He loves me. "I get it," Jarek replies softly. "But you deserve to be happy too. Just know that whatever happens, it's your choice." I nod, but the inner conflict only intensifies. I crave this connection with Jarek, but I'm haunted by thoughts of Ethan. What do I really want? I can feel the walls I've built around my heart starting to crumble, but part of me is terrified of what lies beyond. "Maybe we should just talk," I suggest, my voice barely above a whisper. "Before this goes any further." "Yeah, talking sounds good," Jarek agrees, his expression softening. "Let's just take it slow." We sit together on the couch, the silence between us filled with unspoken words and heavy emotions. I glance at him, and in that moment, I realize this isn't just a casual encounter. It's a crossroads, and the choices we make here could change everything. I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of my decisions pressing down on me. I don't know what I want, but I know I need to figure it out. Jarek nods, his eyes searching mine. "We can figure it out together, if you want. No rush." For the first time in a long while, I feel a flicker of hope. Maybe this moment is an opportunity for growth, a chance to confront my own desires and fears. But a part of me still aches for the life I've built, and I know I can't ignore that either. "Let's just talk," I say, my voice trembling slightly. I need to understand what this all means. And as we begin to share our thoughts and feelings, I realize that whatever happens next, I'm already crossing a line. As I stood there, the tension in the room felt thick enough to cut with a knife. Jarek's eyes searched mine, and I could see the mix of concern and sadness etched on his face. It was as if he could sense the storm swirling inside me. The warmth that had filled the space between us now felt heavy, like a weight I couldn't ignore. "I don't want to be the reason for your pain," he said softly, and those words struck me harder than I expected. It was a reminder of the life I had chosen, the commitments I had made. I turned my gaze to the window, the city lights twinkling in the distance, while my heart pounded in my chest. In that moment, I felt the full weight of my choices pressing down on me. I had let the thrill of this new connection pull me away from my reality, and now I was faced with the truth. I was betraying Ethan without even realizing it. "I don't want to hurt anyone," I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper. Especially Ethan. He deserves better. Jarek stepped back, giving me space, but I could still feel the energy between us. You deserve to be happy, too, he replied, his tone gentle yet firm. But you need to figure out what that happiness looks like for you. It's your choice. His words hung in the air, and I felt a knot forming in my stomach. I wanted to reach out and grab onto what we had, but the thought of Ethan waiting for me at home made my heart ache. I wish things were different, I admitted, my voice trembling. I wish I could just have this moment without the guilt. I understand, Jarek said, his eyes softening. But you have to think about what you really want. Is this moment worth the risk? I nodded slowly, my mind racing. I feel so lost right now. I crave this connection, but I'm scared of what it means. Let's just talk, Jarek suggested, his expression shifting from longing to understanding. No need to rush into anything. We can take our time. I took a deep breath, grateful for his willingness to slow down. Yeah, talking sounds good, I replied, feeling a little lighter. We moved to the couch, and I could sense the tension easing, even if just a little. As we sat side by side, the silence between us felt different now. It was filled with the weight of everything unspoken, yet it also felt safe. I glanced over at him, and for the first time, I allowed myself to really look at Jarek. He was handsome, with a warmth in his smile that drew me in. But I had to remember why I was here, what I was risking. What do you want? I asked, breaking the silence. Out of all of this? He paused, his gaze steady. I want to know you. I want to understand what makes you tick. But I also respect your life, your marriage. I don't want to be the reason you feel guilty or lost. A small part of me was relieved to hear him say that. I appreciate that, I said, my heart feeling a little softer. But it's hard for me to separate my feelings. I care about Ethan, I really do. But sometimes, I feel invisible. I get it, Jarek replied, nodding. It's easy to feel lost in a relationship, especially when things get routine. But that doesn't mean you have to settle for feeling that way. His words resonated with me. I had been feeling invisible for too long, and now here was Jarek, offering me a glimpse of something different. I just need to figure out what I truly want, I said, my voice steadying. Maybe this is an opportunity for me to face what I've been ignoring. Exactly, Jarek said, a small smile breaking through the tension. We can take this slow. No pressure. I smiled back, feeling a flicker of hope. Okay. Let's just see where this goes, without any expectations. As we began to share our thoughts and feelings, I realized that this moment was a turning point for me. I was at a crossroads, and whatever path I chose would shape my future. I was scared, but a part of me was ready to embrace the unknown. And for the first time, I felt like I was starting to understand what I truly wanted. As Jarek walked away, a wave of relief and sorrow crashed over me, marking the end of a chapter one never wanted to write. I stood there for a moment, my heart heavy with the weight of my decision. The cool night air wrapped around me, but it was nothing compared to the chill that settled in my bones. I had stepped back from something that felt thrilling, yet I knew it was for the best. But that didn't make it hurt any less. I closed the door behind me and leaned against it, trying to catch my breath. Alone in the dark, I grappled with the emotional fallout of my choice. The silence was deafening, and I could almost hear my heart beating in my chest, a reminder of the chaos swirling inside me. What had I done? I had let myself get lost in a moment, and now I was left with only the echoes of what could have been. I reached for my phone, contemplating whether to tell Ethan about the encounter. The thought felt like a weight on my chest. I wanted to be honest with him, but I realized I needed to process this on my own first. I didn't want to drag him into the mess of my emotions just yet. So, I put the phone down and took a deep breath, trying to clear my mind. The flickering lights outside reminded me that life is full of choices, each one leading us down a different path. I could see the city glowing, alive with energy, while I sat in the dark, feeling as if I were trapped in a shadow. I knew I had to confront what had happened with Yarrick, but I also needed to face the reality of my life with Ethan. As I moved to the window, I watched the cars pass by, each one carrying someone with their own story, their own struggles. I felt like an outsider looking in. What do you really want? I asked myself, my voice barely above a whisper. The question hung in the air, heavy and loaded. Suddenly, my phone buzzed, breaking the silence. My heart raced as I picked it up, half expecting it to be Yarrick. Instead, it was a message from Ethan. Hey, just checking in. Hope you're doing okay. I stared at the screen, the words pulling at my heart. I'm okay, I typed back, but I knew it was a lie. I wasn't okay. I was a mess, tangled in feelings I didn't know how to express. I hit send and put the phone down again, feeling the weight of my deception. What would I say if he asked about my evening? How could I explain what happened without hurting him? I ran my fingers through my hair, anxiety bubbling up inside me. I couldn't shake the guilt that wrapped around me like a thick fog. I loved Ethan, but I felt trapped in a life that sometimes felt too small for me. I sank onto the couch, staring at the wall as I tried to sort through my thoughts. The flickering lights outside continued to dance, casting shadows in the room. Each flicker felt like a reminder of the choices I had to make. I wanted to be honest, but honesty could shatter everything I had built with Ethan. What if I just take a moment to breathe? I asked the empty room. What if I just sit with this feeling and let it pass? I closed my eyes, focusing on my breath, trying to calm the storm inside. It was hard, but I needed to find clarity amidst the chaos. After a few minutes, I opened my eyes and looked around. The room felt different, somehow. I had faced a choice tonight, and while I didn't know where it would lead me, I understood that clarity would come in time. I just needed to be patient with myself. Finally, I stood up and walked to the window again, peering out at the city. The lights twinkled like stars, and for the first time that night, I felt a flicker of hope. I might be lost now, but I was willing to find my way back, one step at a time. It wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face whatever came next. The next morning, I woke up with an ache in my heart, the events of the night replaying in my mind like a haunting melody. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, hoping the sun shining through the curtains would somehow brighten my heavy thoughts. But the light only reminded me of the shadow I had cast over my life with Ethan. As I got out of bed, I felt a mix of dread and determination. I knew I had to face Ethan over breakfast, but the thought of the conversation made my stomach twist. What could I say? How could I explain the emptiness I felt without hurting him? I took a deep breath and tried to push those thoughts aside as I made my way to the kitchen. Ethan was already sitting at the table, his face buried in the morning paper, a warm cup of coffee steaming beside him. He looked up as I entered, his smile brightening the room, but it felt like a spotlight shining on my guilt. "Morning, sleepyhead," he said cheerfully. "How did you sleep?" Okay, I guess," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. I poured myself a cup of coffee, the hot liquid filling the silence between us. The aroma was comforting, yet it did little to ease the tension that hung in the air. Ethan set the paper down and watched me with concern. "You sure? You seem a bit off today." I hesitated, my heart racing. This was the moment. I had to say something. I've been thinking a lot lately, I finally admitted, my voice shaky. "About us." His expression shifted, and he leaned forward, giving me his full attention. "What do you mean? Is something wrong?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my words. "I feel like we've been drifting apart, Ethan. I felt invisible sometimes, like I'm just going through the motions." Ethan's brow furrowed. "Invisible? I had no idea you felt that way. I thought everything was fine." "It's not that simple," I said, my voice rising slightly. I love you, but sometimes I feel so alone, like I'm missing something. And last night, I let myself get caught up in a moment with someone else. It made me realize how much I crave connection. His eyes widened in shock. Wait, what do you mean by caught up in a moment? What happened? I swallowed hard, knowing I had to be honest, even if it hurt. I met someone. His name is Yarek. We talked, and I felt this spark. It was exciting, and I almost crossed a line I shouldn't have. But I stopped. I didn't want to hurt you. Ethan sat back, his expression a mix of confusion and hurt. So, you were tempted? Why didn't you tell me before? Because I was scared. Scared of what it would mean for us, I replied, my voice trembling. I didn't want to hurt you, but I couldn't keep pretending everything was perfect when it's not. He looked down, processing my words. The silence felt heavy, but I could see the gears turning in his mind. I appreciate your honesty, he finally said, his voice low. But we need to talk about this, about what you're feeling. I don't want you to feel like you have to hide things from me. I nodded, tears prickling at the corners of my eyes. I want to be open with you. I want us to be strong again. I don't want to lose you. Ethan reached across the table, taking my hand in his. You won't lose me. But we need to work on this together. Let's figure out how to reconnect, how to make sure you never feel invisible again. A wave of relief washed over me. Really? You mean it? Of course, I mean it. I love you, and I want to understand what you need. His grip tightened as he spoke, grounding me in that moment. The conversation we had avoided for so long had finally begun, and I could feel the distance between us starting to close. As we talked, I realized that our love had not been lost, it had simply been buried under the weight of our routine. With each word, we began to explore the love we had both taken for granted. I could see the flicker of hope returning to Ethan's eyes, and I knew we were on the right path. It wouldn't be easy, but together, we could bridge the gap that had formed between us. Let's promise to talk more, I suggested, feeling a spark of excitement. About everything. Absolutely, he agreed, a smile breaking through the tension. Let's make this work. As we finished breakfast, I felt lighter. The ache in my heart was still there, but it was now accompanied by a flicker of hope. We could face this reality together, one conversation at a time. With a renewed commitment, Ethan and I decided to embark on a journey to rediscover each other. The heaviness that hung between us started to lift as we made a vow to break free from the routines that had stifled our love for so long. We wanted to create new memories, ones that would remind us of the passion we once shared. Let's plan a date night, I suggested one evening as we sat on the couch, a sense of excitement bubbling inside me. How about trying that little Italian place downtown? Ethan's eyes lit up. I've heard great things about it. And I love Italian food. He smiled, and I felt a spark of hope. I'll make the reservation, I said, my heart racing at the thought of a night just for us. And maybe we can dress up a little, make it special. He chuckled, I like the sound of that. It feels like we're dating again. As the days passed, we began to initiate deeper conversations, ones that went beyond the surface. We talked about our dreams, our fears, and the things we had neglected. I felt a warmth growing between us, a connection that had been missing for far too long. One night, as we sat in the backyard under a blanket of stars, I turned to Ethan. I've realized that I need to be honest about everything. Even the small things matter, I said, my voice soft. I want to share my thoughts with you, no matter how silly they may seem. Ethan nodded, his gaze steady. I want that too. I want to know what's going on in your mind and heart. It's important. Our conversations became a safe space for both of us. We spoke about our daily lives, the little things that made us happy, and even the things that frustrated us. I shared how my job sometimes felt unfulfilling, and Ethan opened up about his own struggles at work. I feel like I've been stuck in a rut, I admitted one evening. Like I'm just going through the motions without really living. Ethan reached over and took my hand. I get that. I think we both have been. We need to find ways to add excitement back into our lives. Maybe we could try new activities together, I suggested, feeling a sense of adventure rising within me. Like cooking classes or hiking. I love that idea. We can explore things we've never done before, he replied, enthusiasm shining in his eyes. With each new plan we made, I learned to appreciate the beauty of our relationship. I embraced the complexities and challenges that came with love, understanding that it was not always easy, but it was worth the effort. As we made our way to the Italian restaurant on our first date night, I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. When we arrived, the ambience enveloped us, soft music played in the background, and the warm glow of candlelight created an intimate setting. This place is perfect, I said, taking in the atmosphere. Ethan smiled as he pulled out my chair. Only the best for you. Throughout dinner, we laughed, reminisced about our early days, and shared stories that reminded us why we fell in love in the first place. I felt the walls we had built around our hearts begin to crumble, replaced by a sense of closeness that had been missing for too long. As we shared dessert, I looked into his eyes and said, "Thank you for being patient with me. I know it hasn't been easy." Ethan reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "We're in this together. I want you to know that you're not alone. We're a team." In that moment, I reflected on how a single night had changed my perspective. The events that had led me to this moment taught me the importance of honesty, connection, and the choices that shape our lives. As we left the restaurant, hand in hand, I felt a sense of hope blossoming within me. I understood now that love requires effort, understanding, and the willingness to grow together. With Ethan by my side, I felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that we would do it together. Share this story if you believe that love can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a time when a heartfelt conversation changed your relationship for the better, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one.